Welcome to another episode of Athlete Things, and today we have Nathan Gevao on the pod. He is the 2023 93-kilo Junior World Champion. What's going on, man? Thanks for coming on.
Good. Thank you for having me.
Mate, it's a pleasure. You did it, man. Fucking world champ. How's it been feeling since coming back?
Yeah, I mean, pretty good. Very good feeling doing it. And then to be honest, bit of I guess downtime afterwards. I normally after competitions, I'm normally pretty beat up. So
Yeah,
just it's a week and a half, almost 2 weeks now, and just taking it easy, trying to ramp back into it again. But yeah.
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 You've got quite the interesting story, which we'll get into later, because quite obviously dominant as a junior at 83 kilos, winning nationals. If we look at like 2022, quite ahead of the pack in terms of, the other 83 kilo juniors in Britain. Last year as a junior, you jump up the weight class, go up to 93, and you cinch that world title. So I guess before we delve into that side of things, let's just like go deep into worlds and the competition for you. Like I know your prep looks like it was a little bit rough, mainly for squats. So kind of what was the preparation like? And then how did that kind of transpire into the day?
Well, I mean, I guess it sort of started at juniors in a way, because after juniors, so juniors, everything obviously is ramping with the weight bulk. Everything's going pretty well. We get to juniors, have a really good day. And I'm saying, well, it's only up from here realistically, like looking at worlds 16, 15 weeks away at that point. And thinking obviously it's going to be great. Went off to Greece for a week, had a little holiday because we never really get to have a holiday in this sport, or at least I don't. And so I don't really take time off of training entirely. And taking that week off really did mess with me, just because I knew that my body gets hit hard from taking time off, weirdly.
Yeah.
Any serious, significant time away from the bar and just being in the gym and actually training really does impact me hard, because it means it takes me a lot longer to get back. So actually getting back, that first block was sort of just an entire rebuild block, just trying to get back to some sort of capacity, because I get into the gym, hit a squat, and I would feel something something felt off, feels like I'm going to hurt myself. And so I'd have to pull back and just, like, I think I want to say my first session back, I squatted like a 160 triple after doing
Shit.
what, five. So it was pretty big step off for like a few weeks. And then we finally got back out of that period. I was finally able to train like normal again without all these aches and pains. But my coach and I, obviously Ben Pape, we thought it would be a good idea to try and pull back a day of squat, because I normally squat 3 times a week. And I get a lot of knee pain just from playing sport when I was younger, just a lot of hard impact sports, and constantly jumping, for example. And where I used to live, we didn't really have grass and proper courts and things, so it was always
Yeah.
concrete. And so constantly that high impact has really taken a toll on my knees. So my knees get pretty achy when I'm squatting. And we thought 2 days a week squat would help that quite a bit. So we pulled back 2 days a week, see how it would go, and it didn't really work. So that entire block was sort of I guess, a downturn for the squat a bit. We flipped that back to 3 days, but when we flipped that back to 3 days, we were only 2 blocks out of worlds, really. Third block, 3 days being back, things started to pick up a bit more. And by the end of that block, I was thinking it's going to be pretty good. But literally, as that block ended, I had to move from London to Bristol, where I am now. And in the midst of that, it was getting into this new flat. Getting into the new flat was essentially, I'm in an old building and I'm on the third floor of
Stairs.
this old building. So it was all stairs, all
Yeah.
stairs. I had 9 flights of stairs to move boxes up and down. So this final SBD where I'm going, yeah, I'm gonna hit something massive. Like it'll be just huge in comparison to before. No, completely shot. And it was just an awful final SBD, really, in comparison to what I wanted. I thought it would obviously be fine going into the next block. But then it was adjusting to a new city, adjusting to a new gym. And right as that final block ended, obviously with this block being my peak, I'm now trying to get used to everything. And my new job begins literally on, I want to say I was 5 days out when I started my new job. And so immediately that's all this induction stuff, being on my feet constantly, complete flip on the lifestyle, having to stay just that little bit later to actually be showing my face, but then being like, right, I really need to get away. And everyone's going, oh yeah, let's go out for socials. And I'm like, no chance. So yeah, and that's pretty much how prep was. It's just a bit of a drawn out story, but just to explain why it was actually so bad, because we were at the point getting into worlds where Ben and I were thinking this is really going to be like awful, because we at that point I was thinking, yeah, I'm going in for 790, 780 kilos for my total, and that's going to be best case scenario 9 for 9 kind of thing.
Yeah. What was it like mentally going through that, right? I mean, like your whole lifestyle is changing. It's most likely that you've seen yourself as an athlete up until this point, right? And having life just change like that. What kind of kept you staying hopeful throughout that whole period to be like, okay, like I'm gonna be able to perform and do something on the platform?
I mean, to be honest, like as far as trying to be hopeful for it, I think it was always aiming to push for that higher level, thinking, right, this week I need to perform, I need to show out. So just making sure everything's in check every single day of the week. All my meals are the same as I'm normally doing. I'm trying to stay off my feet where I can, try and keep things as normal as possible, or as close to what I would normally do as possible. And then trying to just trying to make this week better than last week, if that makes sense. Really and truly, I thought as I was going through and as it was getting closer and closer, it was always just, okay, this next week will be the one where we show what we can do and it's all going to be fine. Like all these other weeks have had their reasons. This next one's going to be better, but it just kept hitting a wall again and again and again. It just kept on not being the week we needed. And I think that was my mindset right up until the final week, where it was another one of those sessions where it was just another one. And in my mind, I'm always trying to justify why things went wrong. And I don't necessarily like throw a strop or anything when I have a bad training session. I always rationalize it so I can turn around and go, okay, well, ABC were the reasons that went badly. But now I need to actually try and eliminate those reasons. And when you're in your final SBD, there isn't really a way to eliminate those reasons, where your next competition is going to be Worlds. And so I think it was very much hopeful all the way up until that point, where I was thinking, okay, now it's really just going to have to be going out and doing the best I can. I have done the best job I possibly could, but Ben and I were just going, we have to believe that it very likely is just going to be a bad day, and you're just going to have to deal with that as best as you can. And the only thing that I have at that point is, if I'm not strong, I know I can execute, because I think in training, that's a strong suit where I'm never lacking on my execution and we're always forcing the highest possible standards all the time. So that, I guess that was the only thing that we could fall back on, because it was going, it's going to be an awful day and we just have to accept that and just do the best we can kind of thing.
Yeah. It's really interesting that you say that, because like normally, like, when people go through those hard preps, a lot of things going on, you're always kind of mostly doing the opposite, where you have these super high expectations of yourself still. You think you're going to do really amazing and you kind of like push all that to the side. So it's interesting to hear your perspective in that, like, you kind of accepted the situation that you were in. Talking with Ben, you're kind of like, yeah, this isn't going to go very well. And then you just lean on dogging it out, focusing on your execution and doing the best you can. Then obviously it shows, right? Like, you just got to rock up there, go to town, and anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like with a lot of people I train with as well, we're sort of, because the gym I train at in London, or the gym I was training at in London, Crayford's, we've got a really good group around there. Like, I mean, I don't know if you know Nonso and Josh,
Yep.
who compete in sub juniors. Both of those boys were training over there. We also have James Adcock, who was training over there
That's
regularly.
right. Yeah.
There's Roy Kunz, who was over there. Like, we have a really, really good group of lifters, and everyone is always out there, always critiquing each other. Like, Nonso might pull a 340 and we'll all turn around and go, yeah, that was shit. Like, and the highlight we were pulling is like, that was awful. You need to do better. And I think that sort of level of realism with other people and with ourselves sort of really helps as far as keeping ourselves, I guess, keeping yourself honest and realistic, and just not trying to go overboard, because I feel like when you do push too hard and push that extra little bit where it realistically isn't actually there, sometimes that can be the downside. I'm not saying don't try and aim for higher, but when you try and hit those unrealistic goals, it can go in the opposite direction sometimes, which I've learned before. So yeah.
Yeah. It's good that you've got like a group that can hold you accountable, in the sense that's like, yes, they're able to push you, but also keep your expectations realistic. Because like,
Oh yeah.
reflecting on like as a junior, right? The typical junior is like highly enthusiastic, is ready to just send it every session, right? And you learn a couple times just doing that, like it probably isn't the way to go, especially if you're coming up with knee pain already, right? So
yeah. No,
definitely
I mean,
helped.
maybe, yeah, because to be fair, some of the other boys will, I don't know, they might do something where they're thinking, yeah, that's great, and we're just going, no, you need to be more realistic with it. People being like, oh yeah, do you think I can do this in this long? No, we don't think you can, but you can do this instead, and that will be a stepping stone towards it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like the group dynamics always play a role in how, I guess, you conduct yourself individually, right? Because like now you're in a completely different city, but you've got these habits in terms of like how mature you are in terms of selecting your loads, rationalizing things. And I think everyone's different, right? Like for some gyms that I spend time with, like different support groups, you'll realize people like to gas you up and you got to be careful. But at the same time, there's people that also keep you realistic, and it's best that you do listen to them at times. So it's different.
Yeah. I mean, one of the main drivers, I'm sure, for the others who are at Worlds in the same group chat as me, it was knowing that if you miss any lifts, as soon as you get off the platform, there's memes in the group chat already, so you better not. But yeah.
Yeah. I guess we could go into the performance itself, right? Like how, like prep aside, by the time you get to the platform, you actually had a really, really good day, right? Do you want to talk us through, I guess, your mentors as the day was progressing?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, it sort of started off with, I think started with just weighing. I mean, from that point, it was really chilled. I think, as I said before, like my mindset was just, I'm gonna have to do the best I can. And because of that, to be honest, I think it's probably the most chilled out competition I've ever had. Just absolutely no expectations, I guess, necessarily, but still doing all the things I need to do and all the things I know I need to do. So it was making sure my food was in check, getting weighed in, still rehydrating and everything perfectly like I knew I should. But then after that, it was just sitting around chatting with the British team. Like Nathaniel was out there, some of the coaches were over there, and we all just sat around and just chat shit really. And after that, it was sort of, okay, now let's get into the warm-up room, get sorted. And I don't think it was really until, because I had no idea really how it was going to go, but I use velocity for my training. And so I can normally tell how good my session's going to be off of, at least with the squat, off of 170 kilos and 220 kilos. So as soon as I've hit those two weights, I can sort of tell where I'm at. For junior nationals, for context, for junior nationals, my 170, I use velocity in the warm-up room as well, sorry.
I was about to ask,
So
yeah.
yeah. So junior nationals 170, I moved at 0.92 meters per second, and then
fast as fuck,
so
boy.
That's fast.
That's fast as fuck.
and so I knew that obviously the marker of 295 at least being the number is around 0.92, and I knew that if I could get 170 to move anywhere around that, I should be at least nearing something that would at least be manageable. And so I'm warming up, and I'm going, I feel all right. I feel not bad at all, sort of thing. And I get under 170 and I move it at 0.96. And so obviously where that's 0.04 faster than nationals, I'm stuck there going, right, well, I mean, that wasn't meant to happen, but I mean, we'll keep warming up and see how it continues. And by the time I hit my last warm up, I'm going, okay, so I have at least 295 again today. And I think that was, I still, at that point, I was still thinking this is at least 5 to 7 kilos behind where I wanted to be. So it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but it just means my day isn't going to be as awful as I thought it was going to be. And then as we're going through the day, I'm sort of just focusing on myself, just making sure everything's fine. And I sort of look up after my second squat and I'm looking at the scoreboard and I'm going, there's a lot of red on there. And I'm looking at, I can't remember who it was that was out there. I think it might have been Shane. No, whoever it was, it doesn't matter now. But I saw someone fail another lift and I was stood there going, okay, I'm now in second place on the squat if I hit this final squat. And then I went out, hit the squat and came back and I was thinking I am actually around where I predicted myself to be if I'd had a good day based on the fact that everyone else has missed lifts. And that sort of carried me into bench thinking, okay, obviously everything's still a bit behind, but this is good at least. Then bench came, same sort of situation again. I sort of just focused on myself through warm-ups and then got to the actual sets. The pauses I felt were quite long. And so it was sort of we probably need to pull that top set back a little bit because I think most of the day in hand with the British coaches because we really didn't know how strong I was going to be. I was in a way calling a lot of my numbers for the entire day. And so it was just trying to be as honest with myself as possible, thinking, okay, like I wanted maybe 192, 190, but realistically, the absolute max I should really be putting on this bar is 187. Went for 187. Unfortunately, didn't actually get the lift, but I mean, I was ecstatic with where I was at that point because I was thinking this is a great day so far. Got 182 on the board and came back out, realized that I was now with that last missed lift, I was essentially, I want to say 40 kilos behind Malik. And I'm thinking, right, well, obviously I've gone on a high with the squat and now I'm sort of brought back down again, but it's fine because I wasn't expecting to win. It wasn't the point of this competition anyway. It was meant to be just the last little hurrah for the 93 sort of thing, last little junior outing. And I'm fine with that. Like Malik's ahead now, that is what it is, and just have to accept it, go into deadlifts and just do what I need to do, push as hard as I can, get whatever placing I can get. We got to deads and warm-ups are going fine. I don't normally use my velocity tracker on deadlifts because I just want to move the bar fast. I'm doing all my deadlifts. I'm going. There's a lot of big deadlifters in this flight. A lot of big deadlifters who deadlift bigger than me. And although my squats went bad during prep, I would probably say my deadlifts went worse. And realistically, the biggest deadlift I hit in prep was 315. And my final week 315 I hit was probably about an RP 8.5. Just because my technique was not there at all throughout prep. I just had awful deadlifts. And that was when the coaches are going, oh, what do you think you can pull today? I'm going, we'll find out on my second pull, but you're just going to have to load 325 and we're going to have to see how it goes sort of thing. 325, 327. And they're going, okay, just sort of worried by that answer. I go out, I pull 305 and the 305 moves so quick that I get called for up and down because the bar whip. And everyone's furious. We're absolutely raging in the back.
I saw your face when you walked off the platform. You like, you almost like just gave like a stare, like so hard through the judges. You're just like, what? Like, go on then. Like, come on.
The thing is, I was just confused because I was like, I know I didn't do anything wrong there, so I don't know what it is they're saying I've done wrong. I was trying to figure out what had happened, and I could see one of the refs in the back going like this, and I'm thinking that means that I missed the down commands, and I'm going, well, I'm so zoned in, I don't know if I missed the down command. Like, I swear I didn't, and I got the center white, so how am I being told I missed the down commands? And then I get back and they say, oh yeah, they said it was the bar whipping. And I'm like, that's insane. Obviously, we're going up because there's absolutely nothing to lose and
Yeah.
there's nothing to gain by taking 305 again. So I was like, you know what, just load it. I'll just have to pull it. Went back out, pulled the 325, come back in and realized that I am in second somehow. And there's a lot of misses going on and a lot of people aren't hitting what they should have been hitting. And at that point, the coaches are saying, so Jason, head coach for the team, is going, you're going to need to pull 345 if Malik pulls his 307 final attempt, if you wanted to win. If Malik doesn't, then currently you need 332.5, and that's where we're at. He also said 335 would be the pull for best lifter. What do you want to do? And I said, obviously, you put in 340. I was like, you better put in 345. And so he's going, are you sure? And I was sort of like, yeah, mate, honestly, if this is the last one, I'll do it. Just might as well, kind of thing. And he put in 345. We watched Malik miss his final attempt, and I knew it was just going to be 332 for the win, sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, it was just sort of a lot of stuff going on in my mind, because I knew that I was just going to have to try and stay as calm as possible when I actually got to the bar. And when I did pull it, there's probably about 10 different thoughts going through my head on the way up, thinking, lock the knees on the right time, don't fall forward, get it back, sort of thing, and hold it, wait for the down command, get it down, and then realizing that or at least in my mind, it was going to be a good lift. Celebrated, and then it was, and yeah, and that was that. But then I don't think at that point even I believed it myself. It was sort of still, I'm waiting for someone to take it away from me, because obviously there was still 4 or 5 pullers left after me, and I'm in the back going, everyone's already saying, yeah, you won. No one can outpull you now. Like everyone's already behind. No one's gonna put up something high enough to do it. And I'm still stood there watching the scoreboard going, surely someone is going to load it up and take it. Like that's not how today was going to go at all. Like this isn't where we were meant to be. And yeah, it was just sort of I honestly can't believe that in the final one, this is how it's played out in the one where we expected least, really. But yeah.
Cool, man. I got tingles just that last little bit. I think it's so sick that you went in with like the expectations that you had. And I think that was probably like a blessing in disguise, because like you said, you were having fun. You were chatting shit with the boys after weigh-ins. You were just kind of cruising, not really expecting much of the day. And then all of a sudden, each attempt, like, did you just feel like this excitement build, kind of realizing probably by like first and second deadlifts that it was possible? Like,
yeah, I think it really was. Honestly, we kept saying just emotional roller coaster the entire time, because it's squats are going like this, bench are continuing like that, and then third bench it's right back down again, thinking we have nothing, and then it's first deadlift immediately back down, and then it's second realizing we're there, and then it's the peak, and it was just all over the place, really. Just very, very, I don't know, crazy day, really.
Like you said, right, like you went in like just kind of with the attitude, last hurrah as a junior, last world champs, like not expecting much, and fuck, man, you came away with it. What's next then? Like coming back, so obviously just getting back into training now, just kind of cruising.
Yeah, I mean, so got back from Worlds, and then quite literally the very same week, it was announced that we were going to be having a qualifier competition. So that's going to be on November 26th, essentially, because obviously the IPF calendar has flipped and Europeans is going to be in March again. There's not actually going to be time for there to be a British Nationals before Europeans happens again. And
that's right,
So they're sticking, or the idea is that Nationals will be later on in the year, but obviously something is going to be needed for the people who aren't able to, or the people who aren't qualified for an international, to be able to have a chance to do so. And so this November competition is seeming like that's going to be the one. And honestly, the sign up so far is looking pretty crazy. Craziest comp we've had so far, looking at the sign ups names on the sheet, because everyone's a big name so far. It's looking very interesting. But yeah, November 26th, 12 weeks out again.
Yeah.
But that's what the next one is. Just need to get as quick to 100% as possible now.
Yeah. So yeah, just quickly at the start, we just spoke about like that weight class jump. Like, as an 83, you were pretty, ahead of the pack, in terms of juniors. So I guess like with your future planning heading into your last years of juniors, did you always kind of know that 93 would be the spot that you would end up, and that you kind of just were just going to do it anyway for your last year as juniors, planning for opens? Or is it more that you were kind of like forced into that weight class just with like, where your body weight was trending, where your strength was heading, all that kind of stuff?
I mean, honestly, I was able to cut down to 83 so easily. My gut cut, sometimes I'll be sat low. I mean, my worlds last year, I missed weight, but I missed weight and I had to weigh in at the end again, but that had nothing to do with my body weight and everything to do with me being an idiot and not checking my scales against the IPF scales, because I just
Yeah.
assumed a calibrated scale is a calibrated scale, but apparently not. So that was my mistake. Ended up being 400 grams over. Had to run up and down the stairs and spit a bunch to get
Oh
that out.
shit.
But I was eating a lot the day before. I was really good on weight, and then in Poland for Europeans, I ended up missing weigh-ins again, but that was because the IPF bus didn't show up to a hotel, and it was about a half-hour drive to the venue. And so I ended up hopping on the bus with some of the referees and Yulong, funnily enough. Yulong ended up missing it as well, but just obviously different weight classes. And we got there, I want to say, with about half an hour left until the comp actually kicked off. So I got weighed in, had about 10, 15 minutes to eat, and then about 15 minutes to warm up before getting into it. But I think I knew in the long run that with my frame and the way I was built, I was way too tall to be an 83 long term, and
Yeah.
93 where my future was. Even though I knew all of the 83s were going to be aging out, I think it was also partially that I didn't just want to do the final year for an easy win. I wanted to, first of all, obviously, I wanted to go in and I wanted to have that time to bulk, because I want to be going
Yeah.
into the seniors, want to be going into the seniors running. I'm not trying to take the time out and try and get that bulk up, but I also knew that it could be very likely that the totals for this year's 83s were going to be a lot lower than last year's totals, which in the end they were, to be fair. But I realized that winning world champion in a class where I was winning by what could potentially have been, for all I knew, 20 kilos, it was sort of something that I didn't really want, because when I was European champion, it was a battle against James and Suleiman. Suleiman, obviously, who won the 83s this year.
Yeah.
That was back in 2021. James was a bit injured, and I became European champion, but the entire thing felt so empty. I really didn't feel like I'd won anything, because there was no competition whatsoever. And I was thinking, even if I'm not winning, I want to be in a serious battle where I actually feel something. Along with the fact that I need to be going up a weight class for my future in the sport, looking to the long term, it was the smart decision. And so that was what we did after Europeans. When I had a poor day, I thought this is sort of the message that I needed to actually kick my ass and make the move, sort of thing. Because I was thinking, if I have a good Europeans, I'll stay and do worlds in this class and maybe go for that 8:13 John Hack records.
Yeah.
And after Europeans went the way it did, I said, there's no way I'm hitting that records. I might as well just move now. So yeah, that was pretty much the rationale behind it.
Yeah, it's hard to find like, I guess, competition, especially when you're first starting up, right? Like, I think back when I was first starting, it was like you'd probably be the only person in your weight class division and you get automatic first place and you get that medal. But it's like you're standing there and you didn't really have to get like battle tested for that, right? So it's like, I get what you mean by sometimes it does feel a bit empty, but you're pushing it all the way to world level, right? But I guess it could still apply there. But it's just interesting because it's like some people might want to get away with the easy win and always have on their resume like world champion, right? But you're chasing still competition. And then even so, like once you go into opens now, like the whole flight is full of shooters now.
Yeah, that was my mistake, really. Should have stayed at an 83, but here we are. Here we are. It's fine.
Well, I think, like you said, man, like just for that motivation behind making the jump, like you wanted the challenge in terms of, that last year as a junior, like you wanted to push yourself. You didn't want it to feel like an easy win. So I think it sounds like just with your mentality of training, man, just having now into opens and having this class stacked with killers, I think for you, it's just going to be even better because, you have that competition now. You have those markers where you know where you need to get to, and that's just going to drive training even further, right?
Yeah, 100% to be fair. I guess I've always said, like, Ben and I will speak about it and we'll go, a lot of people don't like it either because I think people always say you have to enjoy the process. I don't enjoy going in to train at freezing times when it's cold in the gym and it's awful and everything hurts. But I know that I have to do it if I want to be where I want to be. So I think I am very much goal driven as opposed to process driven. But
Yeah.
I think that's what works for me. And I am happy that if one day I'm not able to meet those goals anymore, to step back from it, because equally I don't necessarily want to be powerlifting forever. Like I do have other things I'm interested in, and that's fine in my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
And I think being able to chase those goals right now is something that's seriously driving me anyway. And I can see those markers that I need to hit along the way to get to where I want to be. And I think that's just going to keep me pushing. So
Speaking of markers, like obviously with weight class jumps, you have like the dot score and like the GL points and all of that. Like I think if we look back at yours, your highest dots was the Turkey Worlds as the 83. So it's like, is there any
83.
part of like your motivation now? Do you have like this benchmark where you want to get to just in terms of like bettering yourself as that 83 now at 93? Or is it more external in terms of your competitors and just doing what's needed to get to those competitions over the next year?
I mean, to be fair, I think it's a mixture really, because I know that my main driver for this one was, I mean, obviously world champion is world champion, whether it's 800 or 850 sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it was in my mind, at least at the start of prep, obviously before all the problems, I was going to be passing that 83 total, sorry, that 83 GL. And I think it would have been something like, I want to say it was like 825-ish, 830-ish to do that. And hopefully I still do that in November. And I definitely don't expect to be behind that 83 GL for long. I'm pushing for sure to beat that. And I think I hate the fact that it goes up and then down again. That really messes with me. I don't like that at all. But I think
Danny's going through the same thing at the moment.
Yeah. I think the most I've hit is like 96, and I'm like, fuck, I haven't gone back there yet. Even if like the absolute total's climbing up, it's like I have to get really, really strong to overtake myself.
Yeah. Have you gone up as well, weight class?
Yeah, I was originally a 66 and then moved up to 74.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a struggle. I feel that. But I mean, yeah, I guess it is gonna come, and the total chasing or the goal chasing is what I think will eventually get me there. But I'm not necessarily looking at the GL as the marker. It's just a nice little bonus, I guess.
Yeah. So like now that you've finished up your junior career, world champ, now that you're moving into the opens, like on top of like, let alone worlds, right? Now you're in the opens as a 93, and just in your own country alone, like you've got head-to-head matchups now, which will give you that challenge on home soil, right? You've got Christian, and he's a monster, right? Like representing open worlds for GB this year. You have that head-to-head, and then on top of that, it's like if we looked at the results from Malta compared to where you would have placed, it's like you're 10th place, right? So like you get this opportunity to now climb over the years. Have you kind of looked into like, your opens competitors yet, or it hasn't really sunk in?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, like, to be fair, even with Christian, like Christian's another one that trains at Crayford. Christian's there relatively often. And when I was over there, he'd come down, he'd train with us into his preps. And so Christian and I are boys, like we speak quite often, we know each other. But then even other than Christian, I mean, Christian isn't even obviously the only 93 that's doing big. I mean, there we have Maxwell, who competed at Western Europeans, I believe, last weekend, and he's just hit 825. So, I mean, I guess really, even before I can say I'm chasing after Christian, I need to make sure I'm without a doubt ahead of the other 93s in the country. But I mean, Christian is the one I'm chasing. 93s being behind him or not, he's the marker to be able to go on to the next level of competition, obviously being at Worlds. And obviously, I guess you see everyone. I was at Sheffield. I watched the Battle of the 93s. Obviously, Gavin, Keiko, you got Emil, Chance when he's back, if he's back. All of those boys, Gustav come into this one. Like it's a crazy class, but it's a good class to be in when it is competition that you're looking for. And I do hope it keeps going this way because it gives me something to chase and something to work towards and just something to keep me going, which is always great. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think just like to wrap up like your junior career, I know we're talking a lot about moving into opens. Like I think it's looking back at like, you know, your open lifting and just like the comps you've done, you've had a heap of international experience, which I think, you know, as a junior lifter is like really, really good. I think it's like a really positive thing that, you know, you've kind of made these weight classes jump and had these decisions to push yourself from a weight class perspective, but also like understanding that you're going to be there anywhere. So like as a junior, making the weight class jumps, I think for you is really, really good. And it's shown with your results. But I guess like reflecting on your junior career, what do you feel like are some things that you've done really, really well? And then what are some things that I guess, you know, you think you haven't done so well, and you would tell like a younger version of yourself not to do again?
I think the biggest thing that I did well sort of throughout my junior career was planning ahead. Just as far as always being aware, no matter what circumstance I'm in, no matter what I'm doing at the time, when I'm training, where I'm training, and how I'm going to get the training in. Because I feel like as far as the shift of a lot of juniors moving into the open or even sub juniors moving into the juniors, a lot of people don't really account when they're looking into the future for all those life changes. And it's things as simple as going from school to uni, making sure you're eating properly, sleeping properly when you're going to be going out 2, 3 times a week sometimes if you're going to be playing different sports at university. Just making sure everything's in check, like moving from uni to, I mean, so I'm a trainee solicitor or lawyer, whatever. I don't know what people are called in different places, but
Yeah.
and so all the training to do around that at university, it was the initial sort of, I guess, more official stage where I ended up doing a master's. I was waking up in the morning, getting to university, going off to train or coming home to eat, and then going off to train immediately back to back, getting home again. I was sticking food into the oven or sticking it on the pan in the whatever it was, running into the shower, coming back out, getting the food off, eating, and then I was getting back to start reading again for the uni sessions that I had in the morning. And that was just the cycle that I had, but I knew beforehand that, that's what I was going to have to do. And it was always planning how I was getting where, what I was doing next. It's the same deal now that I'm actually started working. And obviously we moved over to Bristol. I already knew where we were going to be going to the gym, plan where I'm living, or plan where I'm going to get a flat around being able to get to a gym that's actually going to allow me to train, being in between work and the gym so that it's not too far of a journey between the two, being able to get to training on time, getting my sessions, getting my accessories, and be able to do it all. And just, I think generally the timing and actual scheduling of everything has really, really helped as far as keeping me going and progressing all the time through the junior career, because there's never been a stop. Even during COVID, we had we had setups. We had rented out a storage unit and got a setup in there. I mean, I've got videos in the storage unit on my Instagram, and it's just straight up having to get the training in, making sure it's never a setback and it's always going strong.
That's crazy. Like, I think that definitely plays a huge role in being able to keep powerlifting sustainable, right? Like when we're in junior or sub junior as well, like the responsibilities are just less. And so like naturally you're able to just go all in into powerlifting. But if you are going to try and make it to the top level, like it has to be all in for a long period of time. So, and eventually, like you said, like work is going to happen, a career is going to take off, uni's going to pick up. And it's like, you know, observing some people are going to be able to manage that load, some people aren't going to, and you know, externals are just going to take over. But from start of this whole prep to now, it sounds like you've been able to manage that super well, where a lot of people, you could argue, just would have folded in that situation, right? Like it's not always going to be perfect. And you know, as we start to get older, things, if anything, things are just going to get even busier, right? But depends how much you value powerlifting and wanting to keep it in your life. Like that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's gonna boil down to.
Yeah, hopefully we keep it rolling. We'll see.
Yeah, it's just
All
the
right.
start now.
All right, well, we'll wrap up. Just a quick would you rather segment, because I know you got to get to bed. It's late over there in UK. So would you rather, we just got A and B options, powerlifting related, and we'll just quick fire them. You can comment on you know, further comments for your answer. All right, so first one, would you rather win a close head-to-head battle? So we're talking equal total, body weight, and winning in order of total, or win in dominant fashion, 20 kilos ahead of everyone else? As a 93. Let's not talk about 83. As a 93.
Probably close. Probably close.
Yeah.
Just because we've had close head-to-head battles. I enjoyed beating James Adcock. That was a highlight of the 83 career at least. And doing that again at 93, that'll feel pretty good.
Sick. All right, next one. Make it to Sheffield and risk bombing, or pull a world record in the gym, but no one sees it and you didn't hit record.
We're going Sheffield, 100%.
Yeah, well, you've been there, right? You went there and you saw it.
Atmosphere was too crazy. If we get the chance, has to be done. It's only a 24-hour flight for you guys. I'll be fine.
Yeah, it's fucked. Yeah, I'm not going. I'm not watching. I'll watch the live stream again.
Imagine getting there, bomb straight on your squat, and then that's the end of the day.
Yeah, you fucking got the crowd. That's right. You had the high.
That's true. That's true.
And then a last one. So have consistent training, but numbers aren't as high as the expectations, or have inconsistent training, but the numbers sometimes exceed beyond your expectations.
I'll probably say consistent training, because eventually the numbers are gonna reach those higher points. So
damn. It's a good way to wrap it up. Little mic drop there. Sick. All right, thanks, man. So Nathan Gevao, how can we find you on Instagram, man? Spit out your socials, how people can find you.
Instagram is nathan.gevao, and that's probably the same on all profiles, not underscore, because that's the private, and I don't follow anything on my private. So yeah,
Lifting accounts only. Sweet. Thanks, man. Thanks so much for jumping on, and we wish you the best for that comp in 12 weeks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
And
Thanks,
congratulations again.
World champ.
You.